It's Mike Farley, Farley Pool Designs, and we just wanted to welcome you back to the podcast today. So we had an exciting week.
Oh, yeah. It was snowing in Texas.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And we had accumulation. And so there was like 5 inches of snow in the backyard.
Yeah, it looked like a winter wonderland. It was awesome. Dogs loved it.
There was more snow here than there was on the ski resort.
Yeah, unfortunately. But at least we were able to ski. So
yes, we got to ski last week. So
and we didn't fall. So, I would typically complain because, it fall and then it hurts, but didn't have to fall that often this time. So
you had a few minor non-skiing falls.
Yes. Other people's problems.
Yes. Anyway.
But this episode's going to be exciting. We got someone pretty cool.
Yeah. So Dave's going to come on and we're going to talk about health and wellness. Dave Peterson has a BS in civil engineering from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in 1995, and then he got an engineering management certificate from the University of California in San Diego in 2001. He's a registered professional engineer in 39 states. So he has a really cool story. Dave's experience began in the water shaping career in 1994, engineering large aquariums and marine mammal exhibits, especially swimming pools for whales and dolphins, fish, and all kinds of things. In 1998, he began working as a manufacturer in the pool industry, where he designed and patented products including pumps and pool cleaners, wireless control systems, chemical monitoring, and control systems. In 2004, he founded Watershape Consulting, Inc., and has been the engineer of record on thousands of unique and challenging projects, elevating the entire industry through his creative ingenuity and formal training of thousands of students through his other endeavor, Watershape University. So we'll really look forward to talking to Dave about all of his experience. And I wonder what some of those other animals are other than whales, dolphins, and fish, like otters.
Mermaids.
Mermaids.
Ella.
we can check with Elle and see if she's been in one of his tanks. Yes. So anyway, we'll look forward to talking to Dave. Well, thank you for being here today. Look forward to talking with you today about all the things that a lot of people are focusing on the beginning of the year in regards to health and wellness. And, you're in California. Are you in San Diego or are you near LA?
In San Diego. Yeah. So far, fingers crossed, we are safe down here, but we certainly went through this about 17 years ago. We went through our second round of fires where we were evacuated from our house and, stuff nearby burned down. And, it got to the point where there were so many homes that went down, the building department had to set up a separate office just to deal with the fire victims. And I expect that LA will do the same thing. They'll set up a dedicated building department just to handle the fire permits and everything, reconstruction of all this stuff. So
yeah,
my brother had to come down. He got evacuated and brought his wife and 2 dogs down at the 11th hour one night. But we all worked it out. It was great.
Yeah, California sure does have its lion's share of fires. And I was talking to some people about it, and they didn't realize the seasons and the rainfall is a little bit different than a lot of other parts of the country. And so you have long seasons of drought or not heavy rainfall. When I was up in Sacramento Valley, we didn't see rain for, probably from April to October. It was just the state turned golden during those time periods. If you have drought, then in winds, it's a bad combination. So,
yep.
So tell us a little bit about your story of how you got into the pool water shape industry.
Well, it actually started, my connection with water started really while I was at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I was uh, studying civil engineering. I'm a licensed civil engineer now in about 43 states, I believe. Um, and I was concentrating in water resources, environmental engineering, water treatment, wastewater treatment. Um, did a lot of structural engineering, so I kind of had a lot of connections to water stuff as it was. I was into scuba diving and ended up connecting with a company down here in San Diego called Enertech, and really started there as an intern and designed life support systems for large aquariums and marine mammal exhibits. We did, zoo projects, projects all over the world. And so I really cut my teeth on, pools for, big animals, dolphins, whales, fish, just really much more complicated than most swimming pool projects
What's their
in terms
habitat?
of the water treatment systems.
Right.
And we still do a little bit of that. I don't get into the water treatment stuff as much in that. We're just so busy with the pool stuff. But I do a fair amount of structural engineering and design of acrylic windows and tanks and FRP components for aquariums and stuff. So we do a lot on the structural engineering side of that industry. And I've got other friends that continue on with the mechanical side of that, the systems, process systems for that. So I started there as an intern. Ended up being there not just for a summer, but all the way to Christmas. It was like a 6-month internship, and I said, "Hey, I got to go. I have just 2 quarters left. I'm going to go back to school. I'll be back in 6 months." They made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and so it was great because my last 2 quarters at Cal Poly, I had my job lined up. Everyone else is dressed in their suits, trying to
Right.
find a job, and I was all set. So I came back and did that for a few more years and got licensed as a civil engineer here in California. And then my wife and I decided we wanted to start a family, and I was just traveling too much. So I started looking for other options. And my mom was dating Greg Howard at the time. He runs Carecraft
Oh,
now,
wow. Yeah.
but he was running Polaris Pool Systems back then. And I was actually in Vegas doing some work at the Mirage for a big project called the Bellagio. And I was doing some water aquarium stuff there, some jellyfish tanks, and I was doing research. So I was out there every other Friday. And my mom calls me up and says, "Hey, are you going to be out there this Friday? Because I'm going out with Greg to a trade show in the pool industry." I said, "Yeah, I'll be out there." She says, "Well, let's grab lunch." So we grab lunch, and I'm telling him that I'm thinking about leaving Enertech to go do something different so I could cut back on my travel and start a family. And he said, "We're looking for someone with your skill set to help us coordinate the design and construction of this building. Why don't you meet with somebody and see how that goes?" And anyway, I came on as a consultant and ended up staying there for 6.5 years. I got the company moved into a new building, and that pulled me into the pool industry. And then I left there in 2004, started my firm focused on design, engineering, and construction. We've kind of dropped the construction piece off probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. We just got too busy in the design and engineering side, and I had no time now because I'm traveling again. And more than ever, I think. But at least my kids are grown up now, and they can handle that. But yeah, I dropped the construction stuff, and I'm still pretty involved with it, obviously, because I'm out in the field all the time looking at the stuff that we design. But I built a lot of projects and learned a lot from that, which a lot of my guys were involved with that too. So we get to share that knowledge and make our designs better.
When did you're really involved in education as well in the pool industry. And so when did that come about? Was that, in '04 when you started your engineering company, or before that, or?
Yeah, it was really, I think it was in '05. It was definitely 2005. We were uh, building projects back then. We were designing and engineering stuff, and we got a call from a client that wanted us to build his project, and he needed some engineering assistance, but he had a concept design, and that design was actually produced by Skip Phillips. And
Okay.
it was kind of a funny timing thing because one of my employees at the time used to work for Skip, and I learned about Skip, heard about him, and knew he was here in San Diego at the time. And I said, "Hey, why don't you reach out and see if Skip needs help with engineering stuff or construction?" I didn't know, what he was doing. But I knew he was still active in design. And I swear from the day that I said that to my guy, it was less than 10 days later, this client comes in and says, "I'm interested in having you guys engineer and build my pool, but here's a design from Skip." So we gave him a proposal to build it, and he said, "Yeah, this is great. I just want my designer to meet with you guys to vet us, basically." So Skip came in. I met him for the first time in our office. We were in Carlsbad at the time, and had a great meeting. I think everything that Skip asked, we had a good answer for. And as he was leaving, I saw him turning out of the parking lot, and my phone's ringing, and it's Skip. And he says, "Hey, that was a great meeting. I'm going to tell the client that you guys are the guys to build that, but I was wondering if you're interested in building another one, because I just designed another project and we don't have a builder for it." So, in that one day, I basically got two projects through Skip, and we ended up building three others that he had designed within a couple years of that. But so I think it was probably 2005 when Skip said, "Hey, you should come up to Morro Bay and see what we're doing up there." So I went up there and did the level 1 design school in 2005, and I think the following week Skip came into the office and said, "What did you think?" And I said, "Well, you guys need a little help on the engineering side." He said, "Well, tell us what we can do better." And I ended up putting together some fluid engineering stuff. And I said, "What you really need is at least a 2-day class." And I think, Mike, that's when I first met you, was that 20-hour version.
Right.
Probably maybe that first one that we did in Fort Worth. And that was like 2008 or 9, 2008 or 9, I think we did that. And I think at that point, that class really took off. I think we had a unique approach to things, because I was taking all this stuff that I'd already developed for the office here, and kind of revealed my hand. Hey, here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here are the tools that we use. I gave away the spreadsheets and all the stuff that we had developed in house. We started sharing with people, and that really pulled me into the education space in a pretty big way.
So you taught a class several years ago on health and wellness with Jay Nichols. Jay was responsible for the blue mind theory. And do you mind explaining, because most people probably don't know what that is, and that philosophy he had with that?
Yeah, well, Wallace J. Nichols, he was a PhD marine biologist, and he wrote the book Blue Mind about 10 or 11 years ago now. And he was really figured out that there's a connection, humans connecting to water in a way that seems obvious now. I think when you sort of point things out, people kind of go, yeah, that's all true, but it wasn't obvious until he pointed it out. In fact, Jay would say that he talked to another author and said, hey, you should, write this book. There's this human connection with water that no one's talked about, because he tried to find one. He searched and searched and could not find a book that concisely explained all that. And so he talked to a friend of his that had written some other books, and his friend said, no, Jay, you need to write that book. And so he did. He took that challenge and wrote it. And it was really about, getting people near, in, on, or underwater for life, meaning that from the day you're born, you're born in amniotic fluid, or actually your first, 9 months or so, 10 months, or in amniotic fluid, which is very much like the ocean in terms of salinity and density and everything else. And then you go through all these different stages through your life, and you have a lifelong connection with water. And if you get people connecting to water early in life, like within their first 3 to 5 years, they're lovers of water forever. And so his thought was that the pool industry is the gateway to all of the other aquatic sports that we have. We've identified, about 70 different things that you can do with water, that are like obvious sports. There's probably other things too. But everything from being underwater to swimming or boating, whatever it is, you're not going to do any of those things if you're not comfortable around water. And how do you get comfortable? You start swimming at an early age. And that, once you get that done, then everything else becomes very easy. So if you want to sell more boats, yeah, you should probably get people to swim. If you want to sell more fishing poles, you should probably get people to swim. It's a pretty simple approach, but that was our connection with Jay. And it makes a lot of sense. And I can tell you a quick story. My son, who's graduating with a structural engineering degree this June, he had gotten into a lot of amazing universities. He had done very well in high school and sports and everything, and he chose UCSD, which is right here. I mean, he lives with a bunch of frat brothers, but he lives in our neighborhood. And I thought, don't you want to go away to college and get that full experience? And he actually said, no, I really want to be near the water. He's got a Jeep. He likes to have the top off. He doesn't four-wheel drive with it. It's more of a beach kind of a Jeep. And he didn't want to leave San Diego because he wanted to be near the water. And UCSD is in La Jolla, right on the water. Scripps Institute of Oceanography is right there. So he literally chose that school because of water. And I had not talked to him about Jay and Blue Mind and, the human connection with water. He did that all on his own, when he was in high school. So it's a very real thing. And that's how we started talking about doing this wellness class. I called up Jay and I said, I got to do this class, but I can't do it without you. And he said, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's have some fun.
So the premise of wellness has become after COVID's become a really big focus on people trying to create a better mental and physical health situation. So in looking at what we can do as a industry and what people can look at doing in their backyards, are there some things that you would say that, people should start with?
Yeah, well, I think the most obvious one to start with is the cold plunge. Like if you were going to look at other things, it seems like 75% of our projects now have a cold plunge. I remember 20 years ago, we had a lot of projects where there was just a pool only.
Yeah.
And I would ask them, do you want a spa? Do you want a hot tub with that? And they would say, no, I don't need that. And then it got to, we would ask more and more people would start to say, yes, I need a spa. So everything was, pool spa combo. And now a lot of our projects are, yeah, I want the spa, but not pool spa combo because I want to use that every day. And I want it to be separate and heated all the time. And, maybe it's a portable unit, maybe it's built in or, custom, whatever. But, it seemed like there was definitely a shift in the industry where people were starting to adopt spas as part of their water program, right?
Yeah.
And now, over the last 5 years, I've kind of seen the same thing happening with the cold plunge, and it's gotten to the point where everybody wants a cold plunge as part of their project. So there's so many jobs that come along now, and they'll say, hey, it's definitely a pool spa and cold plunge. And now some of those they're starting to talk about, what are the next things? The saunas, the steam rooms, the clay ball room, the, aromatherapy, light therapy, whatever it is. There's so many different options out there. And it's, we used to just see it on the really high end stuff. And now some of that is hitting even the, what I would call the, the kind of the middle ground stuff. It's not super high end, but people want it. I think COVID was one of the things that triggered a lot of that. Was, hey, you're trapped at home. The world is in a very unhealthy situation right now. How do I get more healthy if I can't go to the health club? Well, I could have the health club in my house. I could take a bedroom and I could put a sauna in there. I could, rebuild my master shower into a steam shower. I can add a cold plunge. It could be a portable unit. That's what I have in our gym at the house. It's a portable unit, set at 50 degrees, stainless steel tub, and I can jump in it anytime I want.
Yeah. So the demand for them, it was interesting. I had several clients about 4 years ago that were interested in cold plunges. And so I went to the pool show and looked around for cold plunges, and there was 3 that I found at the show.
Mm-hmm.
This last year I walked around and I counted 52.
Yeah.
So the demand increase in just a short period of time is got quite rapid. And yeah, the most of the ones that we do are portable units. Do you have people that are designing, and we've done a couple that are built in with the pool, similar to a built-in spa. We've done those on totally different equipment sets, so we can control the temperature and everything. But is that your suggestion for if someone's trying to build something in? How do you look at it, from a structural standpoint?
Yeah, well, if we're doing something custom, which is most of the time for our projects, they're looking for something very custom. That could be all stainless steel. It could be a concrete shell, reinforced concrete with a all tile finish or a plaster finish, like a pool or a spa or whatever. Um, the equipment set looks very much like a spa equipment set. We don't have a jet pump. You don't need that. It's not part of the program. And instead of a heater, you've got a chiller or a heat pump. And the that the chiller could be a split system, meaning that there's a condenser located outside, just like an air conditioning unit, and then there's an evaporator coil inside your equipment room. Or it could be a packaged unit where everything's all together in one unit. And it really depends on the project. We've got one in New York City right now where somebody wants to take a stone bathtub and they want to be able to use it as a bathtub with heated water, but they also want to be able to use it as a cold plunge. So we are, engineering a solution where this one vessel is multi-use. There's different options. There could be a tank of cold water, so they could fill it very quickly with 50-degree water or 40-degree water. And then they could just fill it as a bathtub and let the water drain down to the sewer. So it gets sometimes a little more complicated than we want. I like the packaged unit like I have at the house, where I fill it up and I plug it in, and the ozone is so powerful I don't even need to put chemicals in there. And
it's 50-degree water. There's not a whole lot that grows in that. So that's the nice thing about it.
Right. Yeah. So, and the custom units, sometimes we do them deeper where people can stand, or sometimes they're shallower and they can scrunch down. We've got multiple projects, actually 3 different clients across the country right now doing multiple locations for wellness centers that have cold plunges as a big part of their project. Some of the ones here in San Diego, they're going to be 3.5 foot deep, bigger cold plunges made for, maybe 20 people at a time. And some of the ones we're doing on the East Coast right now are shallower bodies that you would sort of sit and scrunch down in, and they might only have 8 people in one vessel. One of the projects, each vessel is just for 2 people max. They're not very big, and those are done out of stainless steel, and all the equipment's all back in a separate room. And so there's a lot of different configurations that we're coming up with depending on the needs of the project. But that's definitely I would say the cold plunge is, if you're not doing them now, I would be shocked if you don't get an invite to do one in the next 12 months, because they're everywhere now.
I'm wondering, and you might have seen this, Dad, but with hot tubs, they have drop-in, areas where you want to have it aesthetically pleasing, but they don't like the look of the hot tub, and they'll just drop it into like a wood deck or something like that, or something better looking. But have you seen that at all with the chillers, the cold plunges, where they drop a portable unit into some kind of wrap or something?
I haven't seen a shell that would be dropped into something else. I mean, you would definitely want this insulated, just the way that you insulate the hot tubs to retain heat.
Yeah.
You really need to insulate the cold plunge to make sure that it's not condensing moisture on the outside of it. Our packaged unit is probably got the walls are probably only about 2 inches thick, but it's solid foam in there, stainless steel shell on the inside. The outside's a painted steel surface. But if there wasn't 2 inches of foam there, that thing would be just sweating and there'd be water all over the floor underneath it. So it's very well insulated for what it's doing. And it's got a foam lid on it, just like a portable spa. Now, could you take that and drop it into something else? Potentially, if you had a way for the air to leave the condenser, because this packaged unit has at one end of it, a grill that's pushing heat out that it's pulling out of the water. So there's ventilation issues that you need to think about with this stuff. But I haven't seen one where there's just a drop-in shell. Now you could certainly call Bradford or Diamond Spas and have them make you a shell that you could drop in, and they could even insulate that before it leaves the factory. So something like that, could be custom one-off. I don't think any of those companies are making an off-the-shelf, hey, here's a 3-foot by 6-foot, 4-foot deep cold plunge.
Yeah.
Maybe they have something. I just haven't seen it yet. But
I think Diamond Spas has some stuff, kind of a package type setup.
Boilerplate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing, went up to that facility several years ago, and they were doing some stuff, and it was right before COVID. And I know that they've done quite a bit since then. So anyway, but they do stainless and copper, bodies of water. So nice stuff.
I think it's interesting that in California, like you're saying, like with all your jobs, that and this might be wrong, but this is what I pulled from the information you said, but that I keep on calling it a chiller.
Cold plunge.
Yeah, cold plunge. I don't know where the word's slipping, but the cold plunge is more popular than the sauna. But sauna has been in like gym culture for a very long time. When you go to a gym, it has a sauna. So I would think that saunas would be, everywhere more than the cold plunge, but the cold plunge has gone crazy. So
yeah, I mean, if you were in Finland, there's a sauna for every 2 people there. So there's it's just a different kind of environment. If you want a cold plunge there, you can just go out and walk into the water, get in the pond or whatever. You've got a natural cold plunge everywhere you go. So they do use heat there. I think the reason that we probably are seeing, more growth with the cold plunges than heat-based systems right now is that people understand the science behind chilling things down. It's really all about reducing inflammation, and most Americans, at least, seem to have chronic issues with inflammation, whether it's injuries from sports or just stress from sports or working out, or it could be, real medical issues. I've got lower back issues. I've got a degenerative disc disease, so I'm already missing 2 discs, and a third one is starting to go away. So I've basically got kind of bone on bone. So I've got constant, pain from, my nerves getting crushed, and anything I can do to relieve that swelling that happens around there reduces and eliminates the pain, at least temporarily. So for me to jump in a cold plunge for 12 minutes every day after working out or working hard in the yard or whatever is very rejuvenating. And I if I don't do it, I can wake up the next day and just kind of feel bad all day. And then I could get in that plunge, and the next day I feel fantastic. So there's definitely something to it, and your circulation, forcing your blood to kind of say, get to the core, protect your core organs while your skin is being exposed to this cold temperature. And then 12 minutes later, you get out, and most of the time I don't get into anything hot. I just let my body warm up naturally. But some people like to get into a spa or a sauna or steam room or something like that and get their temperature back up. For me, it's about reducing inflammation, so I don't really want my temperature back up. And some people do cycles. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and they're going back and forth and sort of cycling the whole thing. It's really up to everyone's individual, preference and what they're trying to do. When you see football players get into the gym, they're sitting in an ice box. It's that concept. They're throwing the water away. It's filled with ice and water, and they're just dumping it like a bathtub. But um, if you're not getting into it as a sweaty athlete, you could just reuse the water and chill it all the time instead of throwing it all out.
So wellness retreats are becoming more and more a thing at resorts, and people come home and they want to incorporate a wellness retreat in the backyard. I did an episode on trends a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of the things I was surprised that came up for 2025 is that people want wellness retreats in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So, say they incorporate a pool and they have a spa, they have a cold plunge. What else do you think would be beneficial for them to have in that space?
Steam room. I think steam rooms are really good for your sinuses, clearing out, mucus and things. And good for your circulation as well, getting your blood to move around, even if you're just exposing yourself to these different temperatures and things. But I think that especially in dry areas, being able to sort of infuse your body with moisture in a steam shower is very helpful. The sauna, of course. We look at, like we've specified for projects, the heated lounge chairs from Bradford, and combining that with light therapy and aromatherapy.
What's light therapy? I'm not sure.
So, yeah, light therapy, different light frequencies actually affect your skin. Your skin is your largest organ.
Yeah.
Right. We don't usually think of that as an organ, but it is your largest organ, and different light colors which come from different frequencies can affect your skin in different ways. And some of those, penetrate deeper. Like if you're looking at a sauna, for example, there's the traditional oven type saunas where you've got a heater in there, usually with some hot rocks. If the air gets too dry, you get a ladle with a little water, throw it on the rocks, get a little bit of moisture in there. But it's a dry sauna. And then there are the infrared saunas, which are really newer technology, but flip a switch and those red lights turn on, and that light penetrates deep into your body. It's not just at the surface of your skin. It's penetrating inside your body. And so the light therapy is used for different, to correct for different, emotional things going on. It's the colors can affect different things on your skin. Some people use certain colors and frequencies to help with acne or other skin ailments. So it's really interesting how light is used for healing things.
Yeah, that's wild. I've heard of red light therapy saunas, but I didn't know anything about them. But I've heard them talking about saunas and stuff like that. So I didn't even know they had like other colors. That makes sense. Blue or green or whatever.
Yeah, the other colors aren't really used for saunas. It's just like. You will literally have lights that you can actually dial in to different colors and put on your body.
Water is one of the things that we deal with at a high frequency and on almost every project. So
yeah,
are there ways that we can use the water that we have and the environments that we create to create more health and wellness for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, going back to uh, Dr. Jay Nichols, he always said you didn't have to be in the water. You didn't have to touch the water to get healthy benefits from it. His science research showed that you just had to be near water or on the water, not you didn't have to be in it. If you just see water, it starts your body starts producing endorphins and things internally. Just the sight of the water. So when we see these pools that are $1 million plus, and it's a big vanishing edge, but it's in a cold location, and somebody's thinking, well, does anyone even swim in that pool? It looks too beautiful to disturb it, right? Or it's too cold to enjoy it. Well, that's fine. You could just go sit out there and look at it, and you're getting some wellness benefits just being near the water, just seeing the water, just hearing the acoustics of the water. And then, of course, being in it, just the pressure alone. You don't have to exercise. You could just stand in the water, and that hydrostatic pressure will help your body with circulation. And there are certain I would say mental challenges that some people have with stress, or maybe it's genetic issues, and just that water pressure alone helps them. They don't have to even swim. They can just go stand in it, and it could have a calming effect. It can reduce your stress level. If you've got issues where your brain is going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and your environment is really crashing in on you, just go stand in the water, and your brain will start to focus on that, and all of a sudden things calm down, and you have a chance to get out of there in a much healthier state than you were when you first walked into it. So what are the things that we can do? I think, first of all, just getting more people connected to water, and in introducing water into more of our environments. I've been frustrated by many of our architects that have been designing these zero-scape yards, like no water at all. They don't even want to have irrigation systems. They just want to plant stuff that can just live off of whatever's left in the environment. And I can understand if an architect was like, hey, I don't want water near my building. Okay, that's one thing. But when you completely eliminate it from our lives, then we're kind of going backwards. It's like, they think they're saving the environment by not having any water in their landscape. But in doing so, it's like, what are we going to have left? Just a bunch of crazy people that have no connection to water at all?
Right.
We have got to get them to understand that they are not just taking water out of the environment, they're taking it out of our heads and out of our bodies and out of our emotional state. And if we keep stripping all that away, we're going to have nothing left but just red mind, which is the opposite of blue mind. We will all be stressed out. If I could just hear the trickle of water, there's something calming about that. We don't have to have giant lakes of it. We just need a little something, a little small connection to it. So definitely bring water into the designs one way or another. If the pool's in the backyard, do a little water feature in the front yard, so they get if you're out front, you're still connected to it somehow.
It was interesting in reading Jay's book that he mentioned that real estate just simply, that was on the water sells for a tremendous more value. We as a society put a lot more value on that than, a house that's 2 or 3 blocks away from the water, because we can just see it, and just that, the feeling that you get, like you said, the red mind, which comes from all the anxiety, it neutralizes that and just creates a place of calm and healing for so many people. So anyway, that was one of the things. I was amazed when I first read the book, that I was just like, yeah, people do that all the time. They spend a lot more money on property that's on a lake, or that's on an ocean, or that's on a stream, but that's only part of the country. What's cool is we can provide water for everybody else in their home environments with the industry that we have, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, when we have guests on and they design jobs, or they engineer them, or they build them, I love hearing them talk about a job that just comes to mind. I don't know what it could be, your favorite job, or something that I don't know, it pops into your head right now. But is there a job when you think about wellness, like for instance, like how you were just talking about bringing water into the design? I think of like step pads, and just seeing the water, even though it's just like a walkway, and it's not really a usable space for deck to put a table on, but it's just cool to walk on those pads and have the water underneath you at the same time. Is there like anything that comes to mind where design meets water in an interesting way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm thinking about wellness, one project that comes to mind is a project where the client essentially had a big basement area, very large area, and he knew he wanted a pool in there and a hot tub. And he kind of mentioned a cold plunge when we first met with him. But he had all this other space. He said, I don't really know what to do with all this stuff. And I said, well, you hired us to design a wellness center for your house, so we'll do that. And he said, well, what are all the things that you want to do? And we talked a little bit about some of the details, but I said, really, it's about the whole experience. So, I'm not going to give you the sales pitch right now. I'm going to go back and design some stuff and start to work this out. And what we start with is a schematic diagram. In the programming stage of our project, we don't just start with a list of things. We kind of want to think about the whole experience. What are all the options? Does he need all the options, or what? And we actually have this diagram shows in the center what we call the core elements, which are not necessarily wellness elements, but they're necessary to support all these other wellness things. And what I'm talking about are restrooms, a water station, because some of this stuff hydrates you, but some of it dehydrates you. And if you're in there for a while, ultimately, they probably all dehydrate you at some point. So you need to consume a lot of water. So having like a water bar. And of course, you need a linen area. There's, whether you're getting going in the clay ballroom and then taking a shower, or you're getting, out of the cold plunge and you're going into the massage room, whatever it is, you probably need to have linens nearby. Probably need some food, there's some kind of a snack bar element to it or whatever. Dressing rooms, showers, all of these core elements kind of want to be somewhat central maybe to everything else if the layout allowed for that. And then you've got all these other elements, and you can go from some elements right to other ones, and some of them you leave that element and you can't go anywhere else. Like if you get out of the clay ballroom, you're covered in clay, mud. Yeah, I mean, you got to go to the shower. So, there's the only point of connection out of that space is really back to the showers. And so you start connecting these dots with lines, and some arrows can go in both directions and some are one-way streets. And then you start to organize things into a sequence or a spatial layout that makes sense. And then, you come up with a very rough concept for the whole thing. But at that point, you go back to the client and you say, "Look, we're not laying everything out yet. I'll give you some conceptual images, but we need to start with this schematic diagram, just like we do with fluid engineering. How is the system going to work? Well, how is your wellness center going to work? What is the wellness experience when you go into that space? What are all the things that you can do? And how do they affect your body?" If we go through the list and he says, "Well, the one thing you didn't address was that I have this issue with my feet, and I didn't see anywhere where you were dealing with my feet." Okay. We'll buy you a footsie wootsie. I don't know. We'll come up with some element that takes care of that. And, we'll incorporate that into the design. But, we could go through all these things and come up with an experience. And once they've sort of signed off on the experience, then we can focus the design and start coming up with a real layout for it. And I remember going back to this particular client with this for a meeting to discuss the experience. And at that point, he said, "Well, I don't really understand any of this because I've never been to a wellness center." And I thought, wow, you hired us for a lot of money, a whole lot of money to design this wellness center, and you've never even done this. I said, it seems like you need to get your girlfriend and take a little vacation and go test drive this. I mean, we're going to spend $1.5 million in this room, and you don't even know what you're doing yet. And that seems a little crazy. I had plenty of money, but seemed a little crazy to proceed without him actually test driving stuff. So I gave him the shopping list. I said, find some place that has a lot of this, or maybe a couple places that you can enjoy it. And about a month later, he called me up and he said, "Hey, my girlfriend and I, we just got back from this resort down in Mexico, and we got to try like almost everything. They didn't do cryogenics, but I think he did just about everything else on the list." And he says, "I'm ready to meet." So we met, and he basically signed off on all the stuff that we had proposed. And I think he added one or two little things, but that gave us the roadmap to then finish out the design. And then it was all about being creative and thinking about, we didn't want it a series of boxes, because if it's a relaxing wellness space, I don't like a lot of hard edges, and I like things to flow, and the environment needs to feel like what the space is supposed to do. It's supposed to help you heal. And if it feels like a stressful environment, that's
Right.
not going to feed that part of the wellness aspect of the space. So that's one example, and I think other ones are just we've taken over wellness designs from other designers, and just making improvements, and really getting into the experience, I think, is the most important thing, and understanding what that client really wants.
So I think it's really cool that you had them go and, go to a couple of resorts and experience that, so they can get a better feel for what they want. Because I think there's so many things out there that people aren't aware of and don't know what the experience is like. And so that's a great way to go about it.
Mhm.
there's a couple of places here in DFW. One of the newer places that we went in and tried to talk to them about it, but their media people decided they didn't want to be on the podcast. But anyway, just try to get, people to come in and explain the different things that are available. So, but that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to eliminate things that sound good on paper maybe or in a discussion, but when you experience it yourself, people have different thoughts about it. Like I've tried these air beds, where you've got a air distribution system underneath a series of stainless steel bars, and maybe the bars are kind of set up in a lounge chair concept. We've designed some with flat stainless plates, but in a lounge chair configuration, with holes in the plates. And we've had different designs, but I would never want to do that airbed myself because I've sat in those and I just think that the bubbles tickle me. And I don't get any therapeutic benefit out of being tickled that way. It just like makes me want to giggle. And it's like, is this helping me? I need some deep tissue, like, some, a thundering waterfall on my shoulders. I need, some powerful jets in a hot tub, bubbles tickling me as they float up past the air bed is, doesn't help me at all. So I would never waste my money on one of those, but other people love it. So go experience it, figure that out, because that chair is, $15,000 at least.
Right. They I know, anyway, it's your experience is based on, so many people read about something and they're like, well, that sounds cool, so let's go about doing that. But truly experiencing something so you understand, whether you like it or not is the best way to go. It's like the difference between watching a video about, a place versus traveling there and experiencing it yourself. The actual experience is going to be a lot better than watching a video all the time.
Something that I can relate to that. I've seen videos of like sensory deprivation tanks, and I think that looks really cool. And they're big in California. Have you had one or tried one before? But
yeah, in fact, we have a float tank company right here in Solana Beach. So yeah, cool. It's actually, this goes back to Jay Nichols again. I had not done one prior to talking to him about it, and I told him it was on my list of things to do. And he actually gave me some really great advice. He said, when you do it, sign up for like 3 sessions. And I said, why? What if I don't like it the first time? He goes, I know your brain, Dave. He says, you're going to be sitting there, just trying to figure out how it all works. And your brain's going to be going 100 miles an hour. You're not going to be sensory deprived. You're going to be hyperstimulated. You're not going to get the experience. I said, yeah, you're probably right. He says, the next time you'll probably start off that way, but maybe you'll get in the groove. But he says it's really not going to be until your 3rd time there that you've forgotten about the technology and how it's being done and how you could do it better, because he knows how I think. He says the 3rd time is when you're actually going to be deprived of your senses, and your brain will actually calm down and you'll get some real benefit out of it. And that was good advice. And that may be true for a lot of people. Some things you could try once, whether you're going to love it or hate it. I think if you're signing up for a float tank, sensory deprivation experience, yeah, commit to 3 of them. And because it probably is different after the first 1 or 2.
So did you enjoy it after the 3rd one? Okay.
Yeah. It's It's I actually I don't know that they had the temperature quite right the second time I was there. I felt like, the temperature I think is supposed to be at 94 degrees, like your skin temperature. So you don't even feel the difference between the air and the water. Like, it's true senses deprived. And for some reason, I felt like I could feel the water that second time I went, but the third time was definitely the best experience. The first time, Jay was absolutely right. Maybe because I was thinking about what he said to me. I'm like, yeah, I do need to figure all this out.
That's cool. That's how a lot of designers' minds work. We're always trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, if you're in the biz, you're definitely trying to figure it out.
Is there? So one of the things that we do on the podcast is we talk about things that what we call as a true crime.
Oh yeah.
So where something happened and the experience was just wrong. I know you do a lot of expert witness work and things along those lines, but in the regards to wellness and health, is there something that, story or experience or something like that you just like, man, this was just all wrong, and what occurred?
I was enjoying a wellness place myself that was a big hotel. I won't say what it was or where it was, but they had a wellness center that I just thought the layout of it was wrong. I felt like I was walking all over the place to get from one thing to another. And I could understand there's some complications when you separate, some things are men's and some are women's and some are mixed, and you're kind of going back and forth between these spaces. And I'm telling my wife, well, I'll meet you here in a half hour and we'll enjoy this experience together. But then I have to go back over to the men's side to do the sauna, and I don't know what you're going to do. But then, we'll talk about it, and then all of a sudden, something doesn't, we don't meet up, and you're not walking around with your phone. Right. So, all of a sudden it's like 2 hours later, it's like, man, I haven't even found my wife yet. I don't know what's going on. And it just, I felt like the layout of this place was like a maze. And my takeaway was, yeah, they really miss this. And I think that was one of the things that drove me to start thinking about a schematic diagram, like a flow diagram. Like if you're going to lay one of these things out, shouldn't you think about where the lockers are relative to the, showers and this experience and that one? And even if there's, a men's and a women's space and a common space, and you have different things going on, there's always a better flow. And unfortunately, sometimes we get invited into stuff too late. People have started locking into certain concepts. They've already designed in walls and columns to support some other floor. And they're like, well, this is what we have left. And you're like, oh, well, I can't really do what I want to do now. Can we take that wall out? Oh, no, it's, not now, but could you move the wall over here a little? You still have the same shear capacity, but I need access here. Nope, too late now. We already built it. It's like, it needs to be thought out better earlier. And I mean, you guys know, and you get invited into pool projects when the house is 90% complete, and they give you a closet to fit the equipment into, and it's just when you're in at the ground floor, when
Right.
you're in early, things just go so much better. It's so much more easy to coordinate everything, and we always get we're like the last consultant to get on board, and it doesn't always go as well as we want. So I think there's that piece of it, in terms of like an actual experience that's gone wrong, and horror stories. I've heard of some chemical dosing things where somebody didn't set up a controller the right way, and there was, the pH of the water, got way low because the acid feeder just kicked on and fed everything that was in the bucket, the chem tank, and, people jump in the water and they're getting skin burns, and, it's, we need controllers. We've been doing controllers forever, but these guys had a system that was set based on a knob to automatically feed a certain amount of acid every day. And all it took was somebody to bump the knob, or what we think might have happened is the feed corroded up.
Oh, wow.
And actually caused the speed to
accelerate,
go a little faster than designed, and 24 hours later the tank was empty and the spa was very acidic. So no permanent damage, but just things like that are, I don't know, it makes you think again, what should we be doing better? And there's definitely things that we could do on the construction side and the design side to make the experiences better and safer.
Well, that's what we're always striving for, is to get better at what we do. So in that aspect, on the education, are y'all planning on having another class on the health and wellness coming up sometime soon on the schedule, or in the next year or two? Or,
yeah, we are. So we actually had it scheduled with Jay co-presenting with me again back in November. Unfortunately, with his passing, we decided to substitute a different course. I could have done the class. I just don't think I was in the right mindset to do it without Jay so soon after his passing. And so we canceled that one and decided to bump it back. And we will do it this spring. I don't know when or where, but I've had some other people offer to help with the class. And I think that the people that have taken this class, it's a 2-day class on wellness. So really, we do talk about pools and spas a little bit, but it's really about all of the other things that our industry could be doing in the wellness space, with water and wellness at least. And, some of the stuff we go through early in the class is just the numbers, the statistics, and where that industry is heading, and really why we as an industry should own that water and wellness stuff.
Embrace it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've got manufacturers, we've got, a distribution system, we've got, designers, builders, service professionals. And, if you have people on your team that are technical, that know how to repair a heater, they can probably figure out how to repair a chiller as well. And other things, if you got into cryogenics or aromatherapy or, steam rooms, I mean, all these things have different pieces of equipment, and they're all related to water, or water vapor, or maybe it's, a dry sauna is, like the reduction of water vapor. But it's all connected to water, and that industry will end up dwarfing the pool industry. So think about the opportunity for us as an industry. We're already well established in the water and wellness space. We just don't think of it that way, but we've been doing water and wellness since the advent of the pool. Right. So now it's like, hey, just embrace all this other stuff and think about where your company could go. If you're doing retail, you don't have to have a $30,000 or $60,000 cryogenic, machine sitting on the show floor. But if someone asked you about it because they experienced it at some resort, it would be nice to be able to pull a catalog out and say, yeah, I could get you one of these. It's $60,000, but I could get you one, and I could, buy myself a new car. There's lots of opportunities for us. And in terms of students having an opportunity to take that class, we will do it this spring. We have not picked a time or date for that yet, but we do plan on doing it. And as soon as we do, we'll let the industry know. We'll get that posted on our social media and scheduled on our system and everything.
So, what is the best way to reach out to you on social media?
You can follow us at Watershape.org. Like our website is watershape.org. And our handles for our social media is Watershape.org. And it's I think if you connect there, or if you go to watershapes.com, Watershapes plural, that's our magazine, which has been around for over 25 years now. That's a great resource, and it's free, it's digital. You just get an email every month, and that's got some information on it. If you're busy and don't have time to read it, you can set it aside. But it's always there, grab it on your phone while you're eating a hamburger or something, and we'll have the events published in there. So that's another great way. If you just go to watershapes.com, you can just sign up for that newsletter, and you'll get that by email as well.
Yeah, Eric does a phenomenal job with that information. So it has for decades. So we actually had him on a couple of months ago.
Yeah, a month and a half, I think.
Yeah. So
it was a great podcast. Something I saw at the show that was interesting. It wasn't a fast lane, but it was like a treadmill in water. Like, I know like fast lanes, and you can put a river flow pump on a pool and you can swim against the current, but is that something that's trending you see more often? It was a Chinese company that had it at the show. I didn't see any others, but that was the first time I saw it. So
yeah, there's treadmills, there are bikes,
that's cool.
Stainless steel bikes that you can put in the water. And we're seeing this this aging baby boomers population needing more exercise and needing non-impact or low impact exercise. And so I know some older couples that are, in their 70s, and they get in bikes in the water and just pedal, and it's just more resistance and even less impact than sitting on the same bike on the deck. So it's a great way to exercise, and you can set that body of water to whatever temperature you feel comfortable at, and I think it's fantastic. You see people with treadmills in front of their computers up on elevated desks so they can try to do work and walk at the same time, and I don't know how you would do that. I need to focus on my fingers. I'd be tripping and falling down if I was walking down a treadmill. But and I do like biking, but I've never tried it underwater, but I could see the benefits of it. More resistance and less impact.
Oh yeah. Well,
exercising more muscles too.
Yeah, and when you're in water, you can breathe better because your lung capacity is increased. So might get a better workout.
I just know that my doctor, when I was having my hip replacement, said, you just need to run in the pool, and that would be a lot better than you trying to jog on dry land. And,
oh yeah,
and he was right. So anyway,
I think horse rehab centers do stuff like that. Like, I've seen little lazy rivers with the long rope for horses.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
They have one of those up in Aubrey.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've designed a horse pool, and Yeah, when you're about to sell a horse, that's one of the things they do is they put them in the pools a lot because it gets their muscles really cut. It makes the horse look a lot more fit after swimming circles and circles in those pools. So
Works for
water and
humans too.
wellness.
Works for humans as well. So.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So anything else you'd like to add here today in regards to the subjects that we haven't touched on that you think that would be beneficial for homeowners or pool designers to think about?
Let's see. I mean, I think for the homeowners, I think it's, getting out there and experiencing this stuff and prioritizing what your needs are, which may vary by, age and any personal ailments that you're trying to resolve or fix. And then I think for the people in the industry, I think it's a great opportunity to start figuring out other things that you could be helping your clients with. If you're just doing pools and spas, I think you're missing a huge opportunity out there.
Yeah.
We actually brought on a interior architect, and her sole job is just working on wellness stuff. This isn't a side job for us. This is, in the design team, there is a wellness, component to that, just focused on this stuff. So it's gotten big enough for us that we've, hired people specifically for it. And, we got engineers and, structural engineers and mechanical engineers, and, they're dealing with, the equipment and the structures that all this stuff has to go into. But, the design aspect of it is very important. So we've got that all in-house with our design team. Didn't have that, a couple of years ago. So it's definitely growing, and we're probably going to need to hire someone else in the near future.
So you think the commercial wellness, retreats and centers are going to gain more and more popularity, as a whole package type situation that people can go enjoy?
I do. I mean, we're certainly seeing this trend. We've got 3 projects that we're actively designing. We've got a 4th one that we're just consulting on because they've got existing locations that they're just expanding, and they just want to improve on their expansion. But multiple projects where they are actually putting these into strip malls essentially. So, like you would have small gyms that, pop up in strip malls, and they may be very focused, like Pilates, right? And, maybe there's a karate place or something. And, you got these small things that they'll do in a strip mall. And now it's like, hey, there's this place that's got cold plunges and some hot tubs and yoga, and that's it. They've got this cycle where you do yoga, you plunge, you heat up, you do yoga, plunge, hot tub, yoga, hot yoga, and you just keep going around in a cycle. And so they've actually worked out a training circuit
Right.
that incorporates a cold plunge into it. And the idea that these are popping up in, and there's, competitors out there. I mean, some of these guys we're talking to, they're like, oh, well, we got to get this one done because we think this other company is going to try to move into a, space down the street. And, some of those are going to be very successful. Some are probably not going to be as successful. It's all going to depend on their management at the high level. Can they grow it into the next 24-hour fitness, or incorporate it into 24-hour fitness or some other similar chain? Who knows? But there's definitely a lot of people trying right now. And they're they're seeing this trend and they're jumping on quick.
Well,
and it works.
And that'll go into the backyard. So we'll get to experience and design all those things for the people that don't want to go to the strip center. So that's
right.
the fun of the projects that we get to do. So, well, I greatly appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to your spring class whenever you're launching that. So anyway, it'll be good.
Before you leave, though, I'm curious. Favorite book, movie, and meal. What would that be for you?
Favorite book? Man, I don't know. Do I have a favorite book? I've got all sorts of books. You know, there was a series of books, Arthur C. Clarke, the Rama books, that, you know, have been around a while, and I have been wanting somebody to make those into movies because I thought those were so cool, you know, old sci-fi kind of stuff. And I bring it up because this idea of the Rama series being done just popped into my head again like a week ago. I don't know why. I was just thinking about it. I don't know that those are my favorite books, but I do like sci-fi kind of stuff. Favorite meal? There's this Japanese restaurant actually here in Solana Beach called the Samurai, and they have the teppanyaki tables, and they make the best steak, you know, grilled right in front of you, either New York or filet mignon, and it is the cuts of meat are amazing, and then because they're prepping it right in front of you, you've just never had a more tender, juicy piece of steak than that. And what was the other one you said? Movie?
Yeah.
Movie? Oh man, so many movies. I gotta pick one.
I know.
One favorite movie? I don't know.
Probably gonna be a sci-fi, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it could be a sci-fi. You know, I don't know. There's so many movies that I like for different reasons too. I mean,
Yeah.
I could say, hey, I love Shawshank Redemption, but that's
Ooh.
nothing like a sci-fi movie.
No.
It's so well done, and
Classic.
and the ending is just so great. You know, despite all the misery that happens along the way. You know, it's I don't know. It just.
Yeah, it's all-time great.
I don't know. Maybe it's just anything with Morgan Freeman.
That covers a lot of ground.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could pick one like favorite movie. That's really tough. I have to think about that one a little more.
While you're thinking about that, is there any resources, like as in books or journals or magazines on health and wellness, that you would refer people to?
Yeah, well, there is the Wellness Institute, and they I don't know that they have. I mean, they've got some digital publications, and some of there's a few slides that we do in our presentation where there's some statistics that we've taken from an old report that they did years ago. I'm sure they've got much more updated information now, but even then you could see the predictions they were making. And now, you know, you fast forward, 6 years or whatever, and it's all coming true, right?
Right.
Wellness is just on the rise, and we're so far behind Europe. It's just us catching up to where a lot of Europe has been for a while. I was in Italy for 2 weeks and Croatia for a week this past summer, and we were noticing things like we bought some peanut M&Ms, and it was like, hey, look, all the colors look so faded. relative to the U.S. ones, and that's because they banned these dyes and things
Right.
like that
Yeah. 10
a
years
long
ago.
time ago, and
Yeah.
it just starts to make you think, these guys are already tackling their health and diet and exercise and adopting wellness. I mean, we've been invited to work on some wellness stuff in Saudi Arabia for facilities designed for women only. And most people don't even think that the Saudis respect their women enough to do something like that, but they're adopting it in a big way, and we're just catching up. We're just getting started, and so I would say that the Global Wellness Institute is probably a good resource to start if you're looking for information in the wellness space. They look at other stuff, not just water and wellness, but diet and exercise and all sorts of other things out there, medical stuff and all that. But if we just focused on water and wellness, we would have more work than we would know what to do with.
Well, that's what we look forward to. So did you think of a movie? I tried to get
No.
you time. Oh. Well, we'll have to look you up later on and see. Although Shawshank Redemption, we could
Pretty
go
good
with
movie.
that.
Yeah. The Shape of Water won a ton of awards. I'm not really sure why. I thought the movie was kind of weird, but it had a cool name.
Yeah. Works for that. So,
right.
Speaking, I still have a blue marble that.
Yeah, I've got mine, and I keep one in my backpack with me all the time. In fact, I have a lot of photos in Italy where I would be standing there by a old fountain, and I would just take the blue marble out just to get that photo and remind myself of how insignificant we can be to some extent if that was representing all of the planet Earth. But at the same time, there's so much in there,
Oh yeah,
100%. One of the things that I'll just end with that I know I was reading several articles that they said Jay liked to quote was when he was leaving, he said, "I wish you water." So thank you for all that you do and wish you water. So have a good one.
Thank you. I wish you water, and I appreciate your time and thanks for sharing with the industry and the homeowners out there what opportunities they all have to improve their own lives through water and wellness. I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Well, we keep trying. So thank you. Have a good one.
see ya.
Good night.
Good
Cool.
episode.
Yeah, that was a really good episode.
So any points that you were like, wow, I never thought about that?
There's a lot actually, but just off the cuff that at the end, looking back on it, the cold plunge with the stone bathtub was interesting. What was that, New York or something like that they were designing?
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Because there's a lot of like spaces, like I love hot and cold. I love the aspect of going from the hot tub into the cold pool, or going from a sauna and do
Cold plunge.
into a cold plunge. And
You got this hang up with chiller.
I know. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep calling them chillers. It's like bubbler and whatever. But yeah, I think that was really cool. And also the aspect of the yoga and all that, the whole facility, the fact that he designs them, his whole background with hydraulics and aquariums, it's just really interesting.
It's interesting that these are going to start popping up like karate studios.
Yeah.
Wellness centers.
Well, it makes more sense. Like we have you think it's supply and demand. We have a supply of a lot of people that are not healthy and a lot of people that have like their mental health isn't the best. So what's the demand? They want to be better. Relaxation is awesome. And then also it benefits your health with circulation and a number of things. So, yeah.
Well, and a lot of people don't want to invest in the equipment. So they'll invest in a membership, just like a gym membership.
Yeah.
So, the point of investment is low and the return is going to be extremely high. People are really, I think that's one of the reasons he talked about how the cold plunges got really popular. I just think people feel totally different after they've used one.
Yes.
And so that feeling, they don't get that feeling, I don't think, from a sauna.
No. Well, it's faster than a sauna.
Right.
You're in there less time, and it's
Yeah.
also probably cheaper than a sauna. Like build a whole wood sauna in your backyard or in your house is even more expensive.
Correct. So yeah, you can get a nice cold plunge for, a nice one for a couple grand.
Yeah.
Versus a nice sauna is like, 10, 15 grand.
Yeah. And also the aspect of a lot of people that might have or looking into this equipment might already have a pool and a hot tub. So they already have a way to get hot, get their body hot.
Right. So looking at the opposite side is the cold.
Yes.
And actually the efficient way to do it, because to build one in, like I've done, I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars versus to put a unit on the back porch or, in an exercise room or something like that. The investment's quite low. And so that's, you get a low expense and a great return with it. So yeah, I think that's why the cold plunge is getting really popular. But yeah, as he said, if you haven't done one yet, you'll probably do one in 2025.
Yeah.
I think we've got 3 going in already that'll be installed in projects this next year. And usually it takes about a year for my projects to get done. So anyway, we'll have some cool stuff coming out. Literally.
Yeah. And I think also a big thing is with like luxury outdoor living, you have an aspect where there's these features that have been around for a long time, but maybe they weren't your vibe. Maybe they weren't your style. And now the demand has created such a wide, so many different amounts of units out there that look different. So you can get something that fits your vibe or fits the aesthetic of your project.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
there'll be a lot more.
We will be continuing with more stuff coming next week on health and wellness. Then we're going to jump into, I think, some wood decks where you can put your health and wellness.
Yep.
And then we're going to go to Canada. So anyway, lots of fun stuff coming up.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, well, thanks again for being with us. And we'll look forward to seeing y'all and talking to you soon.
See you in the next one.